Hi, and welcome to the SEO podcast, Unknown Secrets of Internet Marketing. My name is Chris Burris, owner of E-Webstyle.
I am Charles Lewis, your Internet Marketing Specialist.
Welcome to another fun-filled edition. This is number 175.
175.
As always, we have a tip from our previous podcast, and that tip is, when you do a year in review, it might be worth it to practice first.
Yeah, definitely. We ran into a little hiccup. You know, it's a lot of content. It's 100 podcasts, and we're going through them rapid fire. And yeah, last week we should have reviewed it. Frankly, this week we should have reviewed it. but I think we got it, and we'll take it from there.
We'll have a good pace. We had a slow start. We're going to blame it on the Mayans for last week. By the way, woohoo! We made it. Yeah. We survived the Mayan cataclysm.
Yeah, that was almost work.
We haven't
heard anything.
No analytics. All right.
No algorithm catto.
No algorithm catto. Ooh, abbreviation. Remember, we are your friendly local neighborhood top position snatchers, where our mantra is,
don't be a douche.
And if you can, right now, tweet
hashtag seopodcast. This is 175. Make sure you tag us in it at E-Webstyle, and that way we can network and link up and kick it with you.
And if you want to follow us, stalk us, harass us, you can do that. Facebook.com/E-Webstyle. Twitter.com/E-Webstyle. YouTube.com/E-Webstyle. And you could do us a very small favor. You could actually go to either G Plus or iTunes, write a review, and send that information to us. In order to get to our G Plus account, the easiest way, thank you, Google, is to go to e-webstyle.com/G
Plus
and
/G Plus
and
/Google Plus
and
/Google Plus. Yeah.
We might not have to do that much longer, but I like it.
I know, right?
And the other thing, go to iTunes, create an account, submit a review, and then if you choose to, send us an email, podcast@e-webstyle.com. We always like to let you know, don't forget, a lot of you are SEO professionals out there. If you need our help, great. Look us up, find us. There's lots of ways to do that. And if you're an SEO professional and you've got an account that's a little outside of your scope, we have a referral program. Get rid of the headache, keep the cash. So look up our referral program. Yeah. As always, we have a little bit of news. I thought this was interesting. So, kind of year 2012 wrap-up kind of information.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook was the most viewed page on Wikipedia. Yeah.
Facebook was the most viewed page on Wikipedia.
So the Facebook page on Wikipedia was the most viewed page on Wikipedia. Now, you know that sometimes people don't know that a surprisingly large amount of people don't know the difference between a search bar and an address bar.
That's what I'm chalking it up to, because Wikipedia is still going to be your top 3 results.
Right.
I know, although I did notice it dropped from 1. It used to be 1 consistently. But, so yeah, if people are searching Facebook.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's strange that would probably come up before Facebook. But.
Well, maybe it doesn't, and they're just, I don't know. And the other thing I thought was, because of the IPO, maybe people were trying to research it and get some information, a little bit more information about it.
Go watch the movie, dog. It's like the most entertaining 2 hours to learn about how Facebook is here.
Yeah, I think that was good. There was an article on CNET.com, 5 predictions, social media predictions, by Daniel Tiedemann. 3 of them I thought were kind of interesting. MySpace, in this next year, 2013, MySpace will relaunch. Yeah, that's right. That's going to be the reaction.
Well, the thing is, they relaunched like 4 times already with 4 different owners. Now, I will say the one that Timberlake did, his actually looked okay. Mm-hmm. It was kind of, it looked like a mesh between Pinterest and Instagram maybe. But it at least it looked better than the previous 3 revisions. So it'll probably come out in 2013, and it'll have the same result that it had for the past 4 years.
Daniel's prediction was that Tout breaks out.
Tout?
Yeah, and Tout, we've actually just signed up today because we just read about the article.
Now.
We're going to do a little, it's a way to do 15-second? Yeah, I think it's 15-second videos and then you can text message to them with an easy way for other people to view them. You can post them on your Facebook wall. You can tweet them. It's all supposed to be pretty easy.
So the cool thing about Talk was that, when I posted my first one, my boy Kelsey Ruger, shout out to you, punch in the face, man. He was like, man, you know, it's not doing anything that you can't already do on Facebook, which is a valid point. And I think people
other than what we just talked. Go ahead and finish.
Well, I think one of the things is when you begin creating a social network, right, or some sort of app or whatever it is, in order to make it successful, you want to make sure that it addresses a pain, it addresses a cause, it can become necessary, right? And if it's not needed, or if you can already do it with something else, then it's going to be hard to gather users.
Get that momentum.
Exactly.
And I say there's one area that it accomplishes
Can
where...
you say it in 15 seconds?
Well, I can say that. There's one area where Tout accomplishes what Facebook can't with video, and that area is by being able to send short 15-second videos to people that you aren't friends with.
Bam! That's
in 15 seconds.
That's the difference, because with Facebook you got to be their friend.
Yep.
And so on Tout, if you had their number, well, then you should be their friend. But at least if you had their number,
as an example, we're going to start doing this. We're going to do a 15-second clip to people that we present to. We've got their cell phone number, their clients. They may never become friends on Facebook. Hopefully they will, because we end up having long-term relationships with our clients. But in the moment that we've just done a presentation or just sent just send a proposal. Hey, that proposal should be in your inbox right now.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
you
cool.
can send that to via SMS, and then they can watch the video. That's one area.
Now, do we want it public? It's SMS, so it's on their phone.
Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe it could be public. Depending on what you want to do. So I think it's got some possibility. I mean, if you look back when Twitter first came out, I know you were on board because you got an account. Like 99% of the people out there was like, what is this going to be useful for? And then next thing you know, it's the latest, greatest thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something that was mentioned in the news. I kind of skipped it. His prediction is Twitter's going to actually figure out how to make money. So we'll see. And one last prediction by Daniel for 2013. Again, this is on cnet.com. Facebook buys Rockmelt. Now, do you know what Rockmelt is?
I've heard of Rockmelt.
It's a browser. And he makes an interesting point. All the big players have browsers. Like Google has a browser. One big player has a browser. And Rockmelt is apparently a browser designed to integrate really well with Facebook. And we knew of another one. It wasn't Rockmelt, but one of our SEM consultants mentioned a particular one.
Browser.
It's not Dolphin, but some.
Yeah.
And it was integrated with Facebook, so it's right there in your toolbars and everything. And he's
So they launched. What do you think about their Messenger?
Facebook Messenger. That happened this year, right? So yeah, I use it. I actually used it yesterday.
You downloaded the desktop version?
No, I don't have the desktop version. No.
Yeah, so
that's all I need. Is more ways to communicate.
Well, I always felt like their existing Messenger sucked because you had to be on Facebook.com in order to use it. And with so many contacts online and being active, it would be great if they had a desktop version.
Yeah.
Right? And so they had that. And now,
like Google Talk.
Exactly like Google Talk or Yahoo Messenger or Windows Live Messenger. It works the same. Now, I haven't installed it either.
Because it's just going to be more of a distraction. It's going to be
like all these people.
Look who's online. Like everyone I know.
Now, what'll be cool, though, is right now their current messenger system also saves it as an email. And so in your messages.
Right.
And so now if we can actually IM and then go back and refer to those in email, that'll be pretty cool.
You're kind of like G-Talk. Yeah.
G-Talk,
when you do a chat, it ends up in your inbox. And finally, from the news perspective or whatever, I wanted to give a patoof to Sean Malsaid. He's with SEM Rush, also SEO Quake. We're talking with them about doing a little bit of work together, so we're really excited about that. So punch in the face. Sean's not a regular listener, so if there's any lack of clarity, a punch in the face is a good thing.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing.
It is not a bad thing. We've got a little bit of news. I have one review. I'll have to be honest. I had to go all the way to Spain to get a review. It wasn't local. There's no local reviews. Remember, just go on to iTunes or go to e-webstyle.com/G++. This is from Danielle Victoria Garcia. She says, best content and biggest smiles in iTunes. By the way, this is 5 stars. This is the second of 2 reviews in Spain. The first one was horrible and mentioned rednecks.
Yeah, I remember that one.
This goes. The content of this podcast is very good. They talk about news, about internet marketing stuff, findings. Best of all, with a healthy, there's a little language stuff going on here. Best of all, with a healthy hint of humor that helps dealing with the day-to-day boring stuff. I've never added reviews for timing reasons, but these 2 guys do really well, are really worth it, is what we'll go with. And I think she just doesn't have time to write reviews, so she normally doesn't. And in this case, he did. Danielle, he. That was, we'll move on quickly.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, punch in the face to Danielle Garcia.
Or Daniel. Yeah.
Danielle in Spanish, yeah, Danielle Garcia. And next we had I think this is a Facebook post. This was from Scott Angarola. And it says, question about G+. I'm a professor at a college and use a separate account for my education career. I also run an events company as a second career and use a separate email address for this. In a nutshell, I want to keep these worlds separate. I write articles, events, promote things, etc. having to do with each career. So writing as a professor or just by my regular first name, depending on which career. Should I have 2 Google Plus accounts, or is there a way to change your alias and profile images when addressing different circles?
A couple different ways. It sounds like for what you're trying to do, since there are 2 totally separate worlds, and I'm not exactly sure what that second kind of career is, but if you're keeping it separate from
event planning.
Yeah. Okay, you did say that. It depends. You may want to go with 1 Google Plus account to keep all your juice together and make sure you create separate pages, just like on Facebook, where you can have a profile page and then create business fan pages. You can do the same thing in Google Plus. So you have your Plus profile, but then you create a business page for your event planning, and maybe a business page for the school or your class or wherever you're teaching at. And that way you can have 1 kind of email account to access both of them.
That does have one challenge.
It is a challenge.
Right, and the challenge is that if you're shooting for author tag, and you should be, then your business can't ever be the author.
Yeah, exactly. Your author will be for both of them, frankly. And so that's the one drawback.
So what I posted as a response, you're right, and there's a couple ways to attack this. What I said was that you're probably not supposed to have 2 accounts. It wouldn't surprise me if you were to read the liabilities or whatever, what is the terms and conditions of G+, that you're probably not supposed to have 2 accounts. And having said that, you really have kind of 2 personas. And I think you make one as a persona. And one is the event planner persona, and the other one is the professor persona. And as long as you're building content independent, and just never make sure that, I think what I said is just never make the mistake of ever linking those 2, even through a website or through some other, make sure you're using different emails.
Yeah, my answer was more personal preference.
Yeah.
I hate to just have to deal with multiple, even here, there's, my personal Gmail, then Most Serious, then E-Webstyle, then the church, and several other accounts that's already looking at. So last thing I need is another one. And so that's why my preference is to have 1 and go with separate pages. But if you want to take it, in my case, author tag would work if it's Poetry Prophet or SEO Rapper.
Right.
Well, frankly, E-Web, you know what I'm saying? Because it's all me. I don't have to separate them. And they're not different worlds apart.
And there's advantages to that, like you get combined link juice, you get combined clout.
And so if indeed your goal is to keep them separate, then I'll say, just create separate Gmail accounts and keep it pushing. Yeah. Frankly, I don't think Google have a problem with it because they made me have separate Google accounts. And so, I would do that.
Yeah, and just be careful. Keep those second. Great question, Scott. Punch in the face to you. And now
hold on.
We got a couple things.
Got a couple punches in the face. These came from Twitter. This one, punch in the face, goes to Bill Jelwick. At Bill Jelwick said he found a podcast on iTunes a few days ago and he's digging it. Appreciate your support. And I'm curious to know what number you're on. So hit us back up at E-Webstyle and let us know which number you're watching or you said on iTunes. So watch it if you get a chance. E-Webstyle.com/SEO podcast. Second petition goes to Claudia Chalish. She is
Chilishi. We'll go with Chilishi.
Chilishi. Okay, she's at Chilishi Inc. She actually had a question. Question was, when choosing between keywords, do you go for one with slightly less competition or the one with considerably more search volume?
First comment. If you're at that point where your time is so stretched that you're making a decision between these two things, hire a company, right? Because they'll be responsible for probably going after both, unless there's a specific reason not to go after one.
Yeah, and that was going to be my answer. you know, we would probably target both because at the end of the day, if one keyword is less competition and the other one has more search volume, they probably close differently as well. The one with less competition, frankly, probably has a higher close ratio because there's less competition. And so you're most likely in a niche. The people who search that word and find your site are likely to take the action, whatever your call to action is. Problem is low search volume for that same phrase. And so you can't generate the sort of traffic and revenue that you may be looking for. Problem with going with the phrase that has most search volume is probably tons of competition, probably tons of improper searches that may not be exactly what you're looking for, and a lot of fishing to do. So my advice or recommendation would be see if you can find a happy medium, right? Maybe theme your content for that page if those two words are similar around both of them, and hopefully you can rank for both of them. The worst case scenario, choose the one that converts best and rank for that one. At the end of the day, it's about conversions, not necessarily traffic.
And what we found is long-tail terms tend to convert better because they're very specific. These people are no longer doing research. They've made a decision that they're going to
They've already researched. Yeah, now they're looking for where they can get the best value.
Yep. And that's one of the reasons we use pay-per-click. Ourselves and many other people that we've spoken with tend to use pay-per-click only when they're in those final purchasing stages. So research for organic, you can build authority and make sure your name shows in pay-per-click because people know that you're selling. Absolutely. All right, so here we go. Beginning 2012 SEO year in review.
Part 2.
Dos.
Yeah, dos.
Dos. D.
Okay, you go first.
All right. Podcast number 152. We discussed blog roll, footer links, and links in general. Whenever you're talking about links and how you're going to do keyword links, actually keyword anchor text, you've got to talk about your keywords. So keyword selection is important. We ended up talking about password protection and other current events. I think there was probably a Yahoo password hack or something at the time.
I remember that.
And we also discussed, and we discussed all of those things during the Geno time limit. Let's not forget that we haven't mentioned that in a while.
We haven't mentioned that. Podcast 153, we talked about algorithm building, links, and article spinning. And we discussed several things, including April's series effect on Google search, which is pretty cool, right? If you're doing a voice search, how does that affect your stats, right? How does that affect your impressions? How does that affect your placement? Because the search is coming from a voice and not necessarily being typed. So we discussed that. We talked about building links, and mainly on the site in comparison, like footer links or header links, which one has the most value. I think the general concern was header links are always more important. Frankly, they should be in order by your targeted phrase. Should likely be the first link on that page. Footer links are usually duplicate, don't have that much value for, let's say, a search, but they provide value for the user who may need to navigate through the site.
Like an FAQ or something.
Exactly.
It's a good thing to potentially put, depending on how often people reference FAQs. Podcast number 154, SEO advice for your website. This was actually pretty good. On this one, we discussed kind of our holistic approach to internet marketing. So SEO, search engine visitor optimization. What do you have to have on a website? A CTA, call to action, a USP, unique selling proposition. And really often with unique selling proposition, we're talking about that thing that builds faith in your business, that causes them to pick up the phone. Hey, it can be a testimonial, a really powerful testimonial, especially if it happened to be a celebrity or whatever, is an incredible USP. We discussed how businesses are integrating with Facebook with their internet marketing plan. And for fun, this is actually probably worth going back to listen to podcast number 154. We described the world's worst website from an experience perspective
Wow.
and an SEO perspective.
Yeah, I'd like to go see which one we talked about.
Yeah.
So, okay, on podcast 155 was tricks to great blog post. And we discussed several things, including a Panda update. And this was around August, so this would have been the second Panda update that came by that really targeted bad content and article spinning and things like that. But we did talk about great blog posts, and some of those tricks were things like ending your blog post with a question, right? That kind of encourages people to make comments. Make sure that your blog post has enough resources. People tend to not link out to where they got their research from. Go ahead and link out so people can see that. Include video, include images, things like that. Those tips make your blog post great, make it easy to share, and really help it become viral.
I mean, that's just, again, boils down to our kind of our other mantra, which is make sure you're providing a good experience to the Google user.
Definitely.
Podcast number 156, we talked about Google Plus and local SEO. We mentioned, remember, if you're blogging for SEO purposes, to make sure you include a social component. So make sure they can get to your Facebook page, make sure they can get to Twitter. Even following up with what Charles just said, make sure that there's a question. Hey, what did you think about this? Would you ever try this if it's a suggestion? Is it something?
Have you tried it?
Yeah. What were your results if you tried it? Whatever. And work to engage people. Have other people create content. We also had an in-depth discussion about Google Local Plus and its effect on local SEO.
Definitely. SEO podcast 157, we talked link building and link disavowing. And this was pretty cool because this was around the time with the Google local stuff was merging, and so that kind of consumed a lot of the podcasts happening for that period of time. But one of the things that also stood out was Google had recently made a change in Google Webmaster Tools, where you could use the link disavow tool to basically tell Google, look, I didn't approve of these links linking to me, and so don't penalize me if those happen to be bad sites. And so it's a good tool. It's probably worth taking advantage of. But what we kind of realized was that, well, our belief is Google won't necessarily penalize you for bad sites linking to you, this whole negative SEO deal. We feel, because you can't control that.
Yeah.
Right? We can't control who comes in links to us.
It's not your fault that some moron is out there linking bad websites to yours.
Yeah, so we don't think they'll penalize it, but then they may. I mean, they did give us a tool to disavow those links. So if you have people linking to you and they probably shouldn't be, take advantage of the tool.
Yep. Podcast number 158, increasing visitor conversion rate. So this is something that we talk about regularly. It comes up with SEO, search engine visitor optimization. One of the things that we shared in this particular episode was Google had a share feature. Remember when Google had Google Share built right into the search engine result page? I think that's gone now. But there was a share link. If you hovered over it, you could share it right away. I kind of like that feature. I wish they would bring it back because, now I copy and paste the URL. I pasted a URL to you last night instead of could have shared it right there. Although, interestingly, as I think about it, I wouldn't have thought to go back to the SERP to share it. Right? Because I'm actually on the page.
That's why, you need share icons on your pages.
On your pages, absolutely. And we discussed keyword and content optimization, well as websites design and what you need for visitor conversion. This may be where we set ourselves apart from other internet marketing companies and actually suggest that 100% bounce rate can be a good thing. And I don't think anyone else is saying that.
Yeah, I mean, if your conversion is a quick conversion, like a phone call or a form submission, and they can fill out that form submission on the landing page, so if they click, they fill it out, and they leave, that is a bounce. But you've got a conversion. So
that's our goal, frankly. I mean, we put all this effort to make a great experience for the user, and we desperately want them not to spend any time on the website. I don't think we have only some e-commerce clients. Most of our clients are, call-based. You call.
Well, it's a service provider, Let's see here. SEO Podcast 159 was we talked about great value link techniques, and we discussed Panda 3.9. This was the third one they did, and it was targeting bad content and duplicate content and things like that. And I think the key to remember here is because we'll probably mention Panda several times because they did several updates throughout this year. The key is make sure your content's fresh. Make sure your content's original. Make sure your content is worthy to be read and shared. And if it is, and it has value, then you won't get penalized by a Panda update. If your content's bad or duplicate or being pulled from several different sources, not original, then and somebody else has content that is better, then you probably will be affected by a Panda update. We also talked briefly about microdata and snippets. It's kind of advanced SEO stuff. Well, I won't say advanced, but some things most people aren't doing. And you should, if you can, take advantage of microdata, like using tags for a date. You know, that way the spider knows that you're about to give an event and a date. And that way it'll mark it up a certain way, it'll promote it a certain way, and it'll look different on your site. So.
And then subsequently ignore it when the date is passed.
Exactly.
Because there's no reason to drive traffic to that afterwards. Podcast number 160, the title of this we asked, how should I use SEO? Thought it was a great question. Let's be realistic. This is actually a teaser. This is a way to drive traffic for anybody who might search that term. What we discussed in the podcast was, the overall theme was, how do you use SEO? What are the benefits of SEO? Obviously, it's driving traffic, but what do you do with that traffic? We talked about how having a lot of fans on your Facebook page, having a lot of tweets on your Twitter account, and people who are following you on your Twitter account, how those can affect your results in the search engine results pages. And we discussed whether it's a good idea or not to use a P.O. box for Google Plus local places. It's really just Google Plus local. It used to be Google local places. So.
Yeah, don't use a P.O. box.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. Get you a suite number and do it that way. And frankly, we don't know how long that'll work, but it's working now. Let's see here. Podcast 161, Google and original content, optimizing SEO. And so in this episode, we talked content and generating content. And the thing about content is to make sure that it's, I'm drawing a blank. Content has to be useful. No, it's 3 R's. Like relevant,
Reason?
I'm just drawing a blank, but it has to be useful, right? It has to be relevant to the topic that you're talking about. Readable. That's gonna come to me as soon as we shut down the watch.
Radioactive.
Make sure your content is the type of content that people want to read, that people want to share. I was just talking about original content, and I can't harp on this enough. If you can search for something and come across 10 sites and they all have a similar topic, and the content's almost the same, then what value does that have for you? But if you can present a site that has the same subject but a totally different spin, a totally different outlook on it that has value and actually makes sense, then that's original content. That's worth sharing. That's worth putting out there in the internet, not a duplicate of something somebody else already did.
Yeah, not a spun article, quote-unquote spun article. Podcast number 162, SEO, picking the right domain name. We discussed how a domain name can either help or harm your search engine rankings, and that actually has expanded since Exact Match Domain came out. We expanded more on search engine rankings and information on content focused specifically for search engines. So we know that there's content that you can create that's specifically for search engines, and our recommendation is don't go that far. Make sure the content reads well for your users and then appeases the Google monster. We finally
pirate.
Or pirate. We finish off with a section about shopping cart design and how important it is to get the design right. So remember, in shopping carts, it's all data. It's usually data driven. It's not all that always. It's usually database driven. And so the layout and the design, ease of use, the way you can find information, and the way Google can access that information, or any search engine for that matter, in order to be able to index it and actually present it in a search engine result pages, is paramount. So you got to make sure that you're doing those things right.
SEO Podcast 163, we talked about SERP and SEVO. SERP, search engine results page, SEVO, search engine visitor optimization. We went over some basic guidelines on SERP and SEVO, how to keep them fresh and how to keep your rankings up. Some of those basic guidelines would be for a SERP result would be to make sure, for example, on your site that you have a meta description. What you don't want to happen is for Google to rank your site and frankly pull some random text to place on the SERP page. If you have a meta description, then they'll pull that. Listed as a rich snippet, and make sure, if you can, include a CTA there. This is a great time to advertise. This is the first time of your listing being seen by the potential client, and so make sure that SERP listing has at least what you do and how they can contact you. In regards to SEVO, search engine visitor optimization, this is one of our terms here, is another word for conversion optimization, and essentially what it does is, the whole purpose is to what happens after the click. Once they found you on the SERP and they clicked and now they're at your site, what do you do now, right? And so we want to help you generate that conversion. If it's a phone call, if it's a form submission, if it's a download, if it's a newsletter.
Begins or how your mobile site. So guess what we got in this episode? We talked about mobile tools for keeping your website up to date, including maintenance and auditing, and going back and reviewing and actually reviewing your website and comparing it to kind of SEO basics and SEO standards, because sometimes you make changes and it's good to pull back and have a 10,000 or a 50,000 foot view of your website and say, ooh, when I made that change, I messed this up. So auditing your website's really good. We talk about mobile websites and kind of we've talked about this in the past, juxtaposition of, should I have a mobile app or should I have a website?
Yeah.
And how much effort should I put towards a mobile website? And we talk about usability. We've talked often about, I hate eBay mobile. I hate Amazon mobile.
I hate most mobile sites.
Yeah, most mobile sites I don't like. I'm glad they're smart enough to have a full website, so I can click the button and go see the full website. We also talk about embracing SEO for mobile. We had a client in the other day, limo driver. Guess what? Some people end up at the airport and need a limo.
Well, what was really interesting about that was when we logged into their analytics, and we noticed that like 50% of their traffic from device was Android, iPad, iPhone, BlackBerry. It was like, wow, you guys really should be doing mobile, and it was clear, and they just had no clue of that.
And they're the kind of business, when it's repeat business like that, they could benefit from an app.
Definitely, because the info is already stored. I just need to do this.
And it's a simple, like, $300 app, not on a super expensive, complex app.
SEO Podcast 165, Google algorithm changes and how it affects your page. And so we talked about a lot of the changes that were happening with Google algorithms, and we even discussed some negative effects of having multiple Google Plus pages. We were just talking about that, but with the same address, which is key. And so, back to my other guy we were just talking about, if you're going to have those multiple Google Plus pages, if both locations are at different places, great, right? If you're operating both of these businesses at the same place, then you may want to go with the first option.
Well, in your case, you may want to put the address of your professor profile
where you're teaching
at the
at
university.
Over there. Yeah, definitely. We also talked about some algorithm changes. There had been plenty of algorithm changes. This was had to be sometime around August, I think. So there would have been a Penguin update. There would have been a Panda update, Top Heavy update. There were plenty of Google algorithm changes. So I won't have time to go through all of those now, but definitely go back and check out 165.
All right, podcast number 166, keyword optimization. In this podcast, we first go over details, tricks about national SEO campaigns. So what is your focus? Do you focus on a term like SEO Houston, or do you focus on just SEO? And then do you focus on SEO from anywhere in the country, or do you focus on SEO if you're localized in Houston? Because there's a big difference.
Huge difference.
Probably if you're outside of Houston, you don't really have to worry about localizing any localized optimization for a term like SEO Houston. Google's smart enough to figure out that if you're typing SEO Houston, you really do mean the city Houston. So it was great discussion in that podcast. Again, that was 166. We also moved on to discuss keyword optimization, rankings, and finish off with how to increase niche keyword rankings. And we were just talking about that. Do you go after the niche keywords with the lower search volumes, or do you go after the the
kind of broader terms. Yeah.
With a lot more search volume. So that was podcast number 166.
SEO podcast 167. We talked about basic web terminology. We talked about taking advantage of scheduling and geo-targeting and PPC campaigns, which is something you should do. Like if you're running a PPC campaign, and let's say especially if you provide a service, right? If this is an e-commerce PPC campaign, then let it run, right? Because you can get sales at 2 in the morning. But if you provide a service and the action on your site is a phone call or fill out a form submission that you really need to reply to that day, then take advantage of scheduling, right? Make sure your ads are only running during the times when you can actually take advantage of the call to action. If your action is to call and you close at 5, your ad shouldn't be running at 7, right? We also talked about how to properly use video to boost your SEO for your website. We all know Google loves video, especially YouTube videos. So if you have a video, hopefully you own it, right? It's cool to go find YouTube videos that are relevant to your subject matter and embed those, but it's a whole lot better for you to create your own video content and then embed that. Because now Google recognizes who created this content because it's on their platform as well, and you get I think you get a little bit more appreciation for that. Lastly, we talked about some marketing terms everyone needs to know. I remember that podcast. It was a whole long list of them, words like, PPCs, pay-per-click, SEO, search engine optimization, things like that. SEO, search engine visitor optimization. So just terms that people need to know.
Punch in the
face. Definitely. Kick in the shins. Mm-hmm.
All right, Internet Marketing Podcast number 168. Generating value from your link building campaign. So I started off this little description mentioning what Charles just mentioned, which is how important it is to understand the lingo. This is for people who maybe we've got CEOs out there, maybe we've got small business owners who need to hire an SEO person or an internet marketing person or want to, and before you go into that quote-unquote battle, make sure that you're armed with the right understanding of what the lingo is. Then we move on to talk about link building and making sure that you capitalize on available opportunities for link building. Nothing's coming specifically to mind about that discussion. I would think that it would have to do with, hey, make sure your link building is on websites that are relevant to your service or product. So if we're SEO Houston, there's no reason for us to go onto a plumbing website and post about our SEO services, post a comment about our SEO services. That would be what.
Well, I remember that podcast. Now we talked about some different ways to do some link building that were kind of ways that people weren't traditionally doing. Things like if you're having an event coming up, then submit that event to your local paper. Yeah. They may post it on their local website with a link back to your site, and now you have a link from a very credible source linking to your site. So do things like that and directory submissions and things like that to kind of build links instead of your typical commenting and things like that. 168?
Yep.
Yeah, Internet Podcast 168. No, that's not correct. 169. Using Google Plus to help with site rank. And so we went over a few tips on how to reevaluate SEO strategies to regain lost ranking after algorithm updates. Then we went over Google Plus and the many SEO opportunities that it has, including social media. So regaining lost ranking from algorithm updates. Quick thing to do is evaluate your content, because usually 9 times out of 10 it was either a Panda update or a Penguin update. If it was a Panda update, reevaluate your content. Make sure that your content is unique, update it. If you haven't, rewrite it. May even invest in a copywriter to write it for you. But do that, and then go back and check all your links coming to your pages. Make sure that all the links coming to you are good. You have any bad ones, disavow those. You have any broken links, fix those. You have to do these kind of things to come back from an algorithm update. And in regards to the Google Plus, how to really use that to help gain ranking, get plus ones. This is kind of something default we've been adding to all our new sites. If a client doesn't have a Google Places page or a Google Plus page, we create it. Not only do we create it, but we push to get plus one. We push to get people in your circle and get you in people's circles, because that helps your ranking.
We're about to come out with a new service where once a customer has provided service to their client, they go to a web page, enter that client information. We follow up with an email, try and drive them to write a G+ review. And then if they don't do that, follow up with an actual phone call. So the phone call, you may ask 3 quick little questions, which is a great customer service value. How was the service? You know, if it was plumbing or construction, was the crew clean and accommodating and courteous? You know, you ask a few couple questions, and then if they have a Gmail account, boom, send them to G+. They don't, maybe they have a Yahoo, send them to Yahoo, or send them to Yelp and try and get them to write a review. Definitely. So a very proactive way to accomplish that.
To generate reviews. We all know that, you know, these days you need reviews. Reviews, in my opinion, and I'll say this public on the record, you know, I think reviews have as much value or more than backlinks.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Podcast number 170, on-page optimization. This is Internet Marketing Podcast number 170. On this week's podcast, we talk about incorporating G+ into your web marketing strategy. We continue that discussion. And we talk about on-page optimization for keywords, search listings, and the like. So when you're talking about search listings and on-page optimization, you're really talking about meta description and making sure that that's a solid that description is solid, because that is typically what gets shown by Google. We also finally talk about how usability better optimizes your page. And what that means is you want to make sure, this is from a SEO perspective, when people land there, if you're not doing a good job of driving a pay-per-click page to a relevant page, at least make sure your home page, so let's get real specific. If I type in water heater Houston and I end up on a pay-per-click account ad and I click it, don't send me to the generic plumbing page.
Don't send me to your regular home page. Yeah.
Send me to the water heater page. And if you do send me to the generic public page, make sure that it's easy for me to identify plumbing services, maybe toilet services, whatever.
Make sure I can find the water heater page like pretty quickly.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about with usability, optimizing your page.
Internet Marketing Podcast 171, optimizing page titles for algorithm changes. We talked about how to manage and change your on-page SEO to deal with search engine algo changes. Then we moved to talk about page titles for algorithm changes and the transition into creating correct tags for the titles, author tags, and canonical tags and things like that. Basically, what's happening here, because I remember this, we had a call from someone who lost a lot of ranking due to their algorithm changes, and we began talking about things they could do on their site. So if your site was already optimized, what you consider well, and you got penalized due to an algorithm update, well, I won't say penalized, but you were the victim, the victim of an algorithm update, then, yeah, by all means, you know, a few moments ago I was saying reevaluate your content, right? Check your links. After you've done that, look at your on-page SEO, right? If your titles aren't really relevant to that search, right, to that page or to the content that's on there, then redo that. Maybe your titles are too long. You're trying to cover too many phrases. Condense them. You may need to create other pages, but rework your on-page SEO, including titles, tags, images, links, and everything to come back from that algorithm update. The one thing I didn't mention here is to resubmit. If you're using Webmaster Tools and you've made these changes, resubmit that sitemap. You make some more changes, you create some new pages, maybe some URLs change, resubmit that sitemap again. And so you have to do that so Google can reindex you and realize, hey, his content actually is pretty well. It was better than it was when we redid our Panda update, so let's bring them back.
Absolutely. And finally, we've got podcast number 172, Internet Marketing Podcast 172, focusing on old school SEO basics. Of course, we talked about old school SEO basics. There's a lot of people out there who's like, I mean, how many articles did we read this year? Old school SEO is dead. Really? Yeah, that's why none of our sites have gotten hit by Penguin Smackdown.
Like
none of them got pooped on by Panda. I like that one.
The Panda pooped down by Panda.
Pooped on by Panda.
Yeah, you want to cover your basics. I was just talking basics. Yeah. Titles, alt tags, images, links, things like that. Those are basics. And I don't care what anyone says. a page title is still a page title. Even if Google begins to maybe remove some of the value associated with that page title, it still is a page title, and therefore it still should have the right phrase that targets that content.
Absolutely.
Basics.
Yeah, basics. On-page linking.
On-page
Make sure
basics.
that you've optimized your on-page, your on-site linking, not just on-page, your entire site. So that's it. We did miss 173. It didn't make our list.
We missed that one.
Yeah, we
missed that one. Like, I don't even think we did a podcast that day.
Oh, really? I think
that was 3 weeks ago, wasn't it?
No, I think we ended up doing it, and then we skipped a week, and then because I don't skip numbers on here.
Okay.
So anyway, that is the 2012 year in review completion of part 2. It's actually the 2012 SEO year in review. Man, it was a great year. We're looking forward to the next year. We have any blanks there?
Got a little bit of blanks there.
I've been working because I saw the picture.
All right. We usually don't take it here with E-Webstyle, but I'll drop this. Democrats spend a little bit more. Republicans got to tax a little bit more. Solve the problem. Blank stare at the government and everybody in D.C. You having these problems. You fix it.
Yeah, just get it done.
Just get it done.
Right,
dog.
like get to the table and
just get it done,
something.
dog.
I don't want to fall off the fiscal cliff.
Yeah. Get it done. We're trying to run a business, you know what I'm saying? And those sorts of things are affecting us here. So get it done.
Get it done. All right, so that is, we're looking forward to 2013. Hopefully we'll have all the financial woes figured out by then. And we will not have plummeted either off the Mayan calendar or off the fiscal cliff.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you guys. You guys have made us the most popular internet marketing and SEO podcast on iTunes.
Yep.
Thank you. Again, you can do us the small favor of writing a review on our G Plus account just by going to e-webstyle.com/G
Plus.
All of them.
Yeah, all of them. G Plus, Google Plus, and Google Plus.
And you can also go to iTunes, create an account, write a review. Make sure when you do that, you send us an email, podcast@e-webstyle.com. And until next year, you guys have a great year.
A happy New Year.
My name is Chris Burris.
I am Charles Lewis.
Bye-bye for now.
All right. This is the last one, end of the year. Feel like we should.